A few days ago, I did a video on Israel attacking Iran and Iran's retaliation in response to that. And during the video, I said that it's very rare that governments and public figures will actually speak out against Israel, and those that do are labelled as anti-Semitic. I'm glad in this case I've been proven wrong. With the recent massacre that Israel is responsible for, a lot of countries around the world have condemned Israel for their actions. Now, Germany, I believe, came out with a statement saying that Israel has the right to defend themselves if they feel threatened. America is obviously siding with Israel, and I'll get to why in a little bit. And the UK, the Conservative side of things at least, have been incredibly quiet on the subject. Now, they've even gone to as far as when one of the opposition members stood up and started speaking about this in Parliament, Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary, left. He actually got up and left. Now, Jeremy Hunt pulled this shit before when someone stood up and started asking about social care. But the fact now that Boris Johnson is doing it as well when difficult questions are coming up so they don't have to respond to them is repulsive. And you can learn a lot from these people on the simple fact that they won't publicly say anything. It's not difficult to say that there's no justifications for murdering a child at 700 yards with a sniper rifle. It's not difficult to come out and condemn actions when there is a very, very clear party that's in the wrong, and Israel was in the wrong. As I said, the protests that were taking place were 700 yards away from the border. Now, I know that can still count as being close to the border, but it wasn't an immediate threat by any stretch of the imagination. But Israel have come out with the same things that they always come out with. Hamas were there. There was terrorism, they used children as shields. It's just not good enough. And thankfully, a number of countries and a number of public figures around the world are now starting to call Israel out on their BS. It's very late, but I'm glad that it is actually happening. Even humanitarian groups in Israel are saying that what the right-wing government is doing is wrong. Again, it's not difficult to call out a party that's clearly in the wrong for being in the wrong. It's not anti-Semitic, it's just being a human being. Now, on the topic of America siding with Israel, the reason America won't say anything bad against Israel is because, well, there's two reasons. Most of the Trump administration right now is full of evangelicals and warmongers. Warmongers really goes without saying. They want war. It makes them a ton of money. It makes their friends a ton of money. And they're not taking any risks by starting any wars. Evangelicals, on the other hand, is slightly more complex, but in my opinion, far more disgusting. Now, Sheldon Adelson is a name that's not really known, particularly in the UK. A little more in the US, but not particularly in the UK. But this is a man who had a meeting with Donald Trump and publicly bragged that everything he wanted would now come to fruition because he had that meeting with Donald Trump and he bought him, essentially. Trump isn't really an evangelical. He's a muppet who can be easily manipulated if you have enough money or you're smart enough to run an ad during Fox and Friends. But Sheldon Adelson, as I said, is an evangelical Christian. Now, part of that is wanting to see Israel thrive. They go on about prophecies where Israel will take on a more predominant role in the world and reclaim lost lands and loads of other BS. And that's where a lot of media stops. It sounds crazy from a UK perspective, but very recently we've had people on Fox News spouting on about religious prophecy. Very ironic, as America was meant to be the land where you were free from religion and free to practice what you wanted and have a clear divide of religion and state, but that's going to go onto a whole different topic. But media stops after wanting to see Israel grow with this whole prophecy. Now the end is actually the important part, and the end is something that they all believe in, and is something that Michael Pence, who is likely to become president after Donald Trump gets impeached, something that they all believe in, which essentially is a mass murder where almost everyone on the planet dies horribly. I'm not making this up. This is part of what they believe. Israel will take over, it will start a whole new war in the Middle East, Jesus will come back, most people on earth will die, but if you believe in that exact same philosophy that evangelical Christians believe in, you'll get sucked up into heaven. Because of these grounds, America will side with Israel no matter what, because they genuinely believe this. It doesn't matter that innocent children are being slaughtered. I mean, hell, Trump doesn't give a flying fuck if children die right in front of them, as long as it's not his precious Ivanka. The simple fact that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump were giving a deplorable speech on peace and how Israel's taking its rightful place on the same day that Israel massacres so many innocent people really just puts the nail in the coffin here. The upside, or the slight bit of positive that we have from this story, is that people are condemning the right-wing government of Israel. And I have to stress, it is the right-wing government of Israel, because leftist groups inside of Israel are also condemning it. But it's a condition that we can't let up. It's that thing that we've all been brought up to raise with: you don't question Israel. You just let them do what they do. Unfortunately, letting them do what they do for all these years has led us to this point. The fact that they're murdering innocent people isn't anything new. The numbers, sure, but then even then, wasn't that long ago that they were indiscriminately bombing hospitals, schools and safe zones, and come out with the same BS line of Hamas are there, they're using children as shields, with no proof to back this up whatsoever. I'm glad they're being condemned, but it's taken far, far too long, and I wish that the UK's Conservative government would actually do the right thing for a change and join the most of the rest of the world in condemning these abhorrent actions.